Hi everyone, I'm a little late, a day late, for various reasons. But today I want to talk about looking beyond the obvious, and the question, how far did you really come? And I wanted to talk about this because what I often see is that, and this is also this is not just what I hear from clients, but also from my own experience, that we can be so focused on our projects, on where we want to go, when we're trying to achieve, that it becomes really difficult to look at anything beyond or beside that particular destination. And obviously that doesn't have to be a bad thing, like being focused and being like, knowing where you're headed can be a really good thing. But especially if you're someone, and these are the people I tend to work with, probably because I'm like that myself, so that we understand that in each other. If you tend to like raise the bar a little high, it can be very demotivating if the only way for you to like assess your success or assess your worth is by focusing on like your milestones or your wins on that particular creative trajectory. Wow, I'm not even going to try it again. That creative path. That's that can be very demotivating because, like I said, especially if you like have high expectations of yourself, it can be very useful to like step back a little bit and look at the broader picture. And that's like kind of this is what I like to do, like look at the whole of everything. So because this is the thing for me, I believe that everything in your life is connected. So it's not just you have your like your social area, you have your career, you have your creativity, and of course the creativity and the career can be connected. You have your family, you have your personal development. Like I think all these things are connected. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you take a step back from focusing on your creative project, if you take a step back and look around you and sort of check in with yourself how you're doing in those other areas, that can actually be a really good thing, because I believe, like I said, everything is connected. So whatever you're working on in these areas will eventually bleed into the creative aspect of your life. And I'll give you a few examples just to give you an idea, because I understand that this is not very concrete. So I'll give you examples to hopefully help you understand what it is that I'm talking about here. So for example, let's say that in one particular area in your life, you've been working on boundaries. That can be with your spouse, with your kids, with your family. But if you, for example, have trouble prioritizing your work or saying no to people when you should be writing because you are afraid of what they might say, or you don't take your writing seriously, don't see it as a job or something that you are allowed to do, like something that you have the right to do. If you work on boundaries in one area in your life, chances are that will eventually bleed into that creative process, because as you learn how to set up boundaries elsewhere, you learn how to set boundaries right here. So that's an example. Another example would be for me, like, where do you get your inspiration? And that's for me, like I've talked about this before, like I have a workaholic tendency. My work-life balance tends to be not balanced. And ever since I got here, I've been doing much better at that. Of course, I'm working hard on that. Like I'm working hard to do fun things, to take a break. I think one of the reasons, like people who follow me on Instagram, they will see me, they'll know I do volunteering now for the local cat organization. And I think one of the reasons that happened, like that sort of came into my life, is because what I do now every day is I walk to the beach and I walk back, and that's highly relaxing. Like I walk to the beach, I sit there, cuddle with the cats. One in particular, of course, like if you know Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, you know the story about Missy. So she's like my stray. So this is one of the things, like whatever I do on a day, I make sure I go to the beach and I go back all by foot. So I have my exercise, I have my break. I have the sea. Sea is for me highly calming, relaxing, and highly inspiring. I get to sit with my cats. I meet people as well. Like I talk to people, so that's often a nice exchange as well. Like other cat lovers talk to me, so that like fills my cup as well. So it doesn't really matter how you get your inspiration, but filling your cup in another area might also fill your cup in your creative life. Because what I've been seeing is ever since I got here, I've had, of course, that's one of the reasons, as I said when I moved here, one of the reasons I thought this would be a great place for me to live or to like do the next chapters of my life is because for some reason I feel very inspired on this island, and I cannot put my finger on it, and I'm also not trying, I'm just going with it. But yes, like for me, taking that step back and just, going with the flow more and being more, doing more fun stuff, being more relaxed about things, prioritizing my off time over just working, that opens me up to so much inspiration. Like I'm working on so many projects right now that I didn't even think I would do. Not even 2 months ago, like new things, like exciting things, scary things. That's just, I'm just walking to the beach and there it is. So taking a break in that sense, taking a break away. So instead of scheduling, because that's what I used to do, like all my fun stuff was often sort of focused on my creative projects. So I would watch films that are connected either to the genre I write in or to something that I wanted to research anyway. The books I read for fun were mostly books that I read because I was hoping to learn something from them for my own creative project. And that in the end, of course that works to a certain extent, but at one point, if that's the only thing you're doing, if you're not doing anything else, that can actually become quite a, like, not as inspiring anymore, basically. So just doing something else entirely might feel like, but I'm not working on my project, so my project is not going anywhere. Like what I've experienced, and of course I knew this from the past, but what I've experienced, like on a much bigger scale here, is that not working on, and then of course, like I'm talking about writing, but I'm also talking about editing, I'm talking about the programs I'm creating, the nonfiction that I'm working on right now, all of that. The funny thing is that you think you're not working, but these for me are the moments when I suddenly understand why this plot wasn't working, or I suddenly see the perspective or the angle that this book needs to be from, or I understand, wait a second, this is a good idea for a next program, just because I'm not working. So when you take that step back, so I've been doing this, of course, like I've been, I wanted a better work-life balance for my for my business. So not for my creative writing, but for my business. That's my point. So I've been working on that, like create a better balance there. But what happened was that actually, like on the creative level, that's where I got most inspiration, because I took a break from that. So this is my point. Like if you work on it doesn't matter actually on which area of your life you work on, that will eventually bleed into your creative process. So this is why I invite you to step back a little bit and see, okay, so I kind of feel like maybe I'm not working as hard as I could be, or I'm not where I wanted to be on this creative, like on my creative path. But if you just look around and see, okay, but in this area I've been working on that, and in this area I've been working on that, and in this area I've been working on that, just wait and see, and these things will eventually sort of catch up with your creative process, and it will make it easier in the end. So yeah, I always think that instead of just blindly staring at the fact that you're still not there, it's much more rewarding to take that step back and see, okay, so what have I been doing elsewhere, and how will that eventually like benefit my creative process? Because you're always working, you're always in development. So that was my point for today. And that's like, I talk about that a lot, like don't be too hard on yourself, look elsewhere. And so this, I really wanted to point out that it's often, you know, we think all these aspects are separate in our lives, but it's all one big whole, of course, in the end. But yeah, I don't, like, even I am often, like, as I said, like, I don't often see that myself. Like, I have to remind myself, like, this is all connected. So it's don't feel bad. Don't feel bad about the fact that you're enjoying yourself at the moment, because inspiration will strike. Your cup will be full for the moment you have to work. And that's been, you know, it's a process I'm in, but it's going quite well. Like I said, like, if you want to follow my adventures, go to Instagram. You can follow and you see all my pictures of all the stuff that I've been doing. But yeah, so for me, it's like I never thought this would actually be the case for me. Like, this is like something like I should be preaching to the choir, but obviously, like, I've been telling people this, not actually following the advice. But now I'm doing it much more. I see that, yeah, I had a point all along. I just never followed my own advice. Taking that break and working on other aspects will eventually benefit the creative process as well. So that's it for today. What I wanted to remind you of is that it's a new month. Happy May. And as always, I offer to pay what you want coaching sessions for the month. One of them is already gone. I did that session this morning. So there's one left. So if you want to have that session, send me a message, comment here, send me a personal message, email me at Mariëlle@Wordsmith.nl, and we can set up. But just know that there's only one left. Have a good week, productive week, fun week, relaxing week, whatever. It's all for the greater good.